something funny. When we was talking in like the 12th round, I think the 12th or 11th, we was talking right? But he like, you ain't gonna win. I said, why not? What you talking about? He like, they ain't gonna give it to you. I said, oh, is that right?
The controversy surrounding Tank's majority draw against Lamont Roach Jr. is getting messier by the day, and it's starting to look like one of the biggest scandals in boxing this year. What should have been a straightforward fight result has now turned into a heated debate about corruption, favoritism, and whether Tank Davis was protected by forces outside the ring.
You touch down, whilst punches are being thrown, it has to be a knockdown. I've heard some people saying, oh, that, you know, he should be disqualified, he went back to the corner, I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that's a warning, but it's a bit of a bizarre situation.
Fans are still in disbelief over what happened in the 9th round, yet referee Steve Willis refused to call it a knockdown. Instead, he hesitated, briefly starting a count before stopping himself, leaving everyone confused about what they just witnessed. That moment alone shifted the energy of the entire fight, and now there are whispers that Willis was pressured, or worse, bribed, to keep Davis from losing his belt.
No, if you take the knee, man, if you take the knee in the 90s, or in 2000, you're taking the point off. That's the bottom line. You're taking the point off. I don't know what happened with the referee.
The fight itself had already been a shocking one. Roach, a massive underdog, stepped into the ring with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Going up against the power and aggression of Gervonta Davis, very few expected him to last 12 rounds, let alone push the champ to the limit. But that's exactly what he did. From the opening bell, Roach showed he wasn't there to be another name on Tank's highlight reel. He was calculated, disciplined, and fearless, slipping Davis's big punches and countering with sharp, accurate shots. As the rounds went by, it became clear that this wasn't going to be an easy night for Davis. For the first time in a long time, the Baltimore fighter looked frustrated. His usual rhythm wasn't there, and Roach wasn't giving him the openings he wanted. Then came the 9th round, the moment that changed everything.
Tank, you lost that fight. I mean, the only reason they gave you the fight was because you would make more money as a champion, but there's no way it's a draw, and they didn't call it a knockdown. If they called a knockdown, you lost that unanimous.
Roach landed a shot that staggered Davis, forcing him to drop to a knee. The crowd reacted immediately, expecting to see the referee count it as a knockdown. But Steve Willis, a man known for his animated reactions in the ring, did something completely out of character. He hesitated. For a split second, he seemed to start a count, but then he stopped. Instead of ruling it a knockdown, he waved it off like it was nothing. The commentators were stunned. The fans in the arena erupted in confusion. Social media lit up instantly with people demanding answers. How could this not be a knockdown? The replay showed it clear as day. Davis took a knee after getting hit clean. Yet somehow, Willis acted as if it never happened. The scorecards at the end of the fight reflected that moment, with Davis escaping with a majority draw instead of what many believe should have been a loss.
And Lamont not being a big name, so they overblow it?
I think so, yeah, and I feel like people just don't like Tank to a point where any little thing, just because he ain't knock him out, he probably feel as though that he lost, and he didn't, or it was a draw, you know.
And now it seems that more details are coming out. Allegations just started surfacing that Willis had been offered a $2 million bribe to protect Davis. At first, it seems like nothing more than conspiracy talk from angry fans, but then boxing insiders started whispering the same thing. Some claimed that people close to Davis's camp had been in contact with the referee before the fight. And that's why Tank was so sure, telling Lamont Roach that whatever he does, he is not going to be given the win. Others pointed out that Willis's hesitation in the 9th round wasn't just a mistake. It looked like he was second-guessing himself because he knew he couldn't afford to make the wrong call. If true, this would be one of the most blatant cases of corruption boxing has seen in years.
Honestly, I thought I should have won without that being counted a knockdown. Look, I ain't the ref. I ain't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he had to wipe sweat out his eye, he had to wipe sweat out his eye. But the rules do state, if you voluntarily take a knee, then that's an automatic 8 count. But it is what it is. I wasn't relying on that. I was relying on what I was doing.
Things got even more suspicious when the World Boxing Association rushed to defend Willis's decision. In a move that only added fuel to the fire, the WBA published an article on their official website insisting that Willis's call was justified. The article stated, From our perspective, Willis's decision was not unreasonable or unjustifiable. No knockdown should have been recorded. That statement alone had people outraged. It felt like the WBA was going out of its way to shut down the controversy before it got too big. But the backlash was immediate. Fans are not buying it. Boxing analysts are calling it ridiculous. Former fighters openly criticized the WBA for trying to protect Davis. Within hours, the article was being torn apart across social media, and the pressure on the WBA only got worse.
It was a close fight.
I'm surprised the way Lamont fought. I knew Lamont was going to come to fight. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. He did a good job. He fought a great fight.
What went wrong with Tank Davis? I mean, I was expecting him to knock him out.
Every night in boxing is not your best, you feel me? But
the heat became so intense that WBA President Gilberto Mendoza was forced to take down the article and publicly apologize, but even his apology raised more questions. Mendoza posted a direct message to Lamont Roach Jr. on X saying, "Champ, as president of the WBA, I must apologize for the opinion of a collaborator of the website. We believed in you since day one. We knew you would have a marvelous performance and feel proud of you as champion." That wording immediately raised eyebrows. If this was just the opinion of a random collaborator, why was it published on the WBA's official website? And why was the WBA so quick to defend Willis in the first place? Mendoza also reached out to Roach's father, who is both his manager and trainer, with a similar message, but the damage had already been done. To many, this looks like a failed cover-up. The WBA got caught trying to protect Davis, and when they realized the backlash was too much, they scrambled to distance themselves from it. At this point, all eyes were on Gervonta Davis himself. With accusations of bribery flying around, people wanted to hear his side of the story. When Tank finally spoke out, he didn't exactly deny anything, but he didn't admit to anything either. Instead, he fired back at critics, saying, "I don't know anything about that, but look, they've been hating on me since day one. Y'all acting like I ain't never had to fight for my respect. They just mad cause I ain't lose my belt." Davis also claimed that he had no problem running it back with Roach, saying, "If they want a rematch, we can run it back. I ain't ducking nobody. But if that were true, why hasn't a rematch already been announced? Some believe Davis's camp is dragging its feet because they know Roach is a real threat."
I'm not sure, bro. I'm definitely not sure, but hopefully we can get it before. It probably won't be this year.
Is that the one?
Meanwhile, the New York State Athletic Commission is now being pulled into the mess. The NYSAC was supposed to use instant replay on the night of the fight, but for some reason, it never happened. Their official explanation? Technical issues. That excuse has only made people more suspicious. What kind of technical issue conveniently happens at the exact moment when instant replay could have changed the outcome of a major title fight? Some fans are calling for a full investigation, and there are even rumors that Roach's team is considering legal action to challenge the fight result. If that happens, things could get even uglier.
How do you assess his power after being in there for 12?
He got decent power. He got decent power for sure. I ain't gonna say it's exaggerated. I told you I got a chin. I ain't going like that.
With all this controversy swirling, the pressure for a rematch is growing by the day. Even Mendoza acknowledged that the WBA is now considering pushing for a second fight, saying, "I have asked the WBA committee to follow up Lamont Roach Jr.'s direct rematch case closely. However, we believe the parties, as expressed in the post-fight interview, will amicably agree to run it again." But many aren't convinced. The WBA has already shown where its loyalty lies, and some believe they'll do whatever it takes to make sure Davis doesn't lose. Even if a rematch does happen, what's stopping the same shady politics from interfering again?
That people want to discredit Tank, and he's still a pound-for-pound fighter.
Yeah. What do you think about that fight that happened? You thought it was just an off night, or?
Everybody has an off night. Everybody has an off night. Shit, I had a off night with Cruz.
Well, this is what is keeping the pros talking. Canelo Alvarez's return to the ring in May against William Skull may be the biggest fight on his calendar, but that hasn't stopped him from weighing in on the biggest controversy in boxing right now. The Mexican superstar, known for speaking his mind, didn't hold back when discussing what he saw in the 9th round of the fight, where Davis took a knee after getting hit cleanly by Roach. In an interview on Hot 97's Ebro in the morning, Canelo made it clear that, by the rules, Roach should have won the round 10-8, and the situation with Davis's corner stepping into the ring mid-round should have resulted in an automatic disqualification. He take a knee. He needs to lose like 10. 8 that round at least. And plus the corner go up and they put a towel in the face. That's a disqualification for sure. I'm talking about the rules, but you know, it's not my business.
And in the end, lost that fight to Roach, in your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion, if it was a draw, he take a knee. And plus the corner go up and put a towel in the face, that's a disqualification for sure. I'm talking about the rules, but it's not my business.
While Canelo kept his comments brief, his words carried weight. This wasn't just any fighter talking. This was the undisputed super middleweight champion, a global boxing icon, pointing out exactly how the rules were ignored in favor of Davis. And as the backlash continues to grow, it's becoming harder to ignore just how deep this controversy runs. The New York State Athletic Commission is still investigating the situation, and the findings could shake up the lightweight division. Veteran boxing writer Dan Rafael didn't mince words when discussing the case on ProBox TV, saying, "If they do one thing, Lamont Roach wins the fight." That bad night by Willis cost Lamont Roach a championship, deprived him of hanging the first loss on America's top fighter. A lot of stuff went bad, and it was all against Lamont Roach.
If that was kind of a knockdown, I would win the majority decision. Honestly, I thought I should have won without that, but the rules do state if you voluntarily take a knee, then that's an automatic 8 count.
Regulators across the country are now watching closely as NYSAC chairman Matthew Delalio faces mounting pressure to make a decision. The problem? The ruling isn't simple. If Delalio decides to change the result, Davis could lose his WBA lightweight belt and take his first official loss. But some argue that it wouldn't be fair to overturn the fight without giving Davis a chance to respond in the ring. One of the biggest concerns is that referee Steve Willis not only failed to call a knockdown, but allowed Davis's corner to interfere mid-round. If the fight had been called fairly, Roach would have had a massive advantage heading into the final rounds. Instead, Davis was allowed time to recover, wiping his face and re-entering the fight as if nothing had happened. The question now is whether this was just human error or something more.
I'm still rooting with him. I saw all the negativity and people, critics talking, but I think he's one hell of a fighter, and I think he's still the top dog.
Former referee Jack Rice made an important observation on ProBox TV, pointing out that while referees do have discretion, fighters are not allowed to take their own timeouts. "You cannot call your own timeout," former world champion Paulie Malignaggi fired back, highlighting the double standard at play. Adding to the outrage, it was revealed that an instant replay review was available, but never used. This means the commission had a tool in place to correct the mistake in real time, but simply didn't act. That detail alone is fueling speculation that Davis was given favorable treatment. And that's why ProBox TV founder Gary Jonas, who advises Roach, has officially appealed the decision, asking that Roach be declared the winner. Trainer Stephen Breadman Edwards summed up the frustration perfectly, stating, "People make mistakes, but this always happens to favor the A side." That's the heart of the issue. If this were any other fighter, if this were Roach taking a knee, walking to his corner mid-round, and getting an unofficial timeout, would the referee have ignored it? Most believe the answer is no.
And y'all gotta chill out with all of this Loma's beating Tank, and like, this is crazy, man. Tank is knocking out Loma, man. Get out of here with that shit.
Couldn't knock out Roach, man. Yo. Couldn't knock out Roach.
I think Roach knocks out Loma. To be honest.
The solution being pushed by many in the boxing world is an immediate rematch at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, where the controversy first unfolded. But for some, a rematch isn't enough. There are growing calls for disciplinary action against Steve Willis, for the New York Commission to change the official result, and even for Davis to be stripped of his title. One of Davis's biggest rivals, Ryan Garcia, has also spoken up. Garcia, who fought Davis last April and lost by knockout, has had plenty to say about the result. And surprisingly this time, he's siding with Roach. "If that changes the whole fight, if that gives Roach the victory, give him the victory," Garcia said. "That's how you keep the integrity of the sport, right? That's why they suspended me, right? to keep the integrity of the sport.
That was a knockdown, without a doubt. You can't spin it no other way. It's too clear. And I think the commission needs to do something about it because it can give me an incentive, anytime I'm not feeling good in a fight, take a knee.
Well, they said
and that's not a shot at Tank. I respect Tank, and I like...
Garcia's comment is a direct jab at boxing's double standards. He was suspended after testing positive for a banned substance following his fight with Devin Haney, a ruling that many felt was too harsh. Now, he's calling out the hypocrisy. If the sport claims to be about fairness, why isn't it applying the same strict rules to Davis? The controversy surrounding Davis versus Roach is no longer just about one fight, it's about the integrity of boxing itself. If a referee can blatantly ignore a knockdown, allow a corner to intervene mid-round, and still let the A-side fighter walk away with his belt, what does that say about the sport?
Did Gervonta Tank Davis have an off night? Probably. Did he have grease in his eye? Probably. Put the grease on. And did Lamont Roach win the fight? Yes. Let's look at the copy.
The NYSAC is expected to make a ruling soon, and the outcome could have massive consequences. If they stand by the original decision, boxing fans will likely lose even more faith in the system. If they overturn it, Davis's reputation will take a hit, and the lightweight division could be thrown into chaos. One thing is certain, this situation isn't going away anytime soon. With fighters like Canelo Alvarez, Ryan Garcia, and even Teofimo Lopez speaking out, the pressure is only increasing. And with the lightweight division already full of tension between Davis, Shakur Stevenson, and Vasily Lomachenko, this controversy could be the spark that leads to a major shakeup in the sport.
You lost that unanimously.
I'm with Mace. I think he lost the fight. That referee has a lot of experience. For you not to call that knee a knockdown is crazy.
Meanwhile, as the controversy continues to unfold, another heated debate is raging in the boxing world. Who would win if Davis and Shakur Stevenson finally stepped into the ring? With both fighters holding a piece of the lightweight world title, this is the fight everyone wants to see, and the latest performances from both men have only added more fuel to the fire. Davis, despite holding onto his WBA belt, is now dealing with an investigation that could potentially change the result of his fight against Roach. That alone has made his next move unclear. If the New York State Athletic Commission decides to overturn the decision, Davis might be forced into a rematch or even stripped of his title, which could affect his plans for a massive showdown with Stevenson. And with whispers of corruption, a possible bribe, and referee Steve Willis' suspicious non-call in the 9th round, the perception around Davis has taken a hit. Many now wonder if he's truly unbeatable, or if he's just being protected.
But he still had rounds to go. He was in the 8th round. He was good. We just couldn't figure out why he wouldn't pick it up. Right. And so I think it was maybe a lack of focus just for a little bit, and we'll fix that.
On the other hand, Stevenson may have gotten a victory in his last fight, but it wasn't the dominant performance fans were expecting. He took on late replacement Josh Padley after Floyd Schofield pulled out due to illness. And while Stevenson secured a 9th round stoppage, people weren't impressed. The general feeling was that he should have finished Padley much earlier. Considering Stevenson's reputation as one of the most skilled defensive boxers in the sport, his inability to put away a lesser opponent quickly raised concerns. Some critics even questioned whether he had the power to keep someone like Davis off of him.
Run over, you can't do that in boxing. Anything can happen. You can have a great night, believe that. You got to believe in your soul, and I think the kid was in there with his soul tonight. It was a good fight, don't get me wrong. And to me, it could have went either way.
Now, with both men coming off less than stellar performances, boxing fans are more divided than ever on who would win if they fought. Two-weight world champion Teofimo Lopez, who has shared plenty of words with both fighters in the past, recently weighed in on the debate. Speaking to Fight Hub TV, Lopez made it clear that despite Davis's struggles against Roach, he still sees him beating Stevenson. "I still think Gervonta will win against Shakur. Technically, I just think like that," Lopez said confidently. This opinion isn't too surprising considering Lopez's history with Stevenson.
Do you still think that fight's possible? I know he might have a break after that fight with Lamont Roach, but do you feel like you guys could fight 2025 or 2026?
I ain't gonna lie, I ain't into chasing people around. I mean, if he's willing to fight, I'm ready to fight, and I think it should happen, but...
The two have exchanged words before, and Lopez has never been shy about questioning Stevenson's ability to handle elite pressure fighters. Still, his prediction carries weight. As a former unified lightweight champion and the current WBO super lightweight champion, Lopez knows what it takes to win at the highest level. His belief that Davis would get the job done against Stevenson speaks volumes, but Lopez isn't the only one making predictions. Veteran trainer Robert Garcia also weighed in on the possible matchup, and his take leaned toward a different angle. Garcia acknowledged Davis's power, but pointed out that Stevenson's defense and ring IQ make him a nightmare matchup for almost anyone. Garcia believes that if Stevenson fights smart and avoids getting caught by Davis's knockout punches, he could outbox him over 12 rounds.
I'm not even going to shit on him, but look, I want some money tonight. That's all I'm happy for. I want money tonight.
Shakur, tell us something, bro. Like, what did you think about the decision?
I ain't going to shit on him.
Okay.
We still got to see each other. He say he want to fight me, so we going to fight.
But what do you think about the decision?
I told Lamont won.
You thought Lamont won?
The real question, though, is whether Stevenson can do that for an entire fight without making a single mistake. That's the exact dilemma making this fight so intriguing. Stevenson is known for his incredible defense, but Davis has fight-changing power. If Davis lands clean, can Stevenson survive? If Stevenson avoids the power shots, can Davis adapt and outbox him? These are the questions fans want answered in the ring. But with the uncertainty surrounding Davis's situation, the fight's future is up in the air. For now, both men remain on separate paths. Davis is stuck dealing with the backlash from his controversial draw, while Stevenson is still looking for an opponent that will truly test him. What do you expect to see? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more updates.